Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Dr. Steve Gallen III. I hope that each and every one of you has had a very enjoyable Black History Month celebration. This has been a tremendous opportunity for us to celebrate Black history and really infuse an opportunity for our students to celebrate the rich culture of the African American experience. I'm very excited today to involve myself in what I deem as a moment of nostalgia. Going back approximately 27 years, I was an elementary school principal at Holmes Elementary School. Times have changed, but one thing has been constant, is that the early childhood programs, the elementary school experience is critically important for a student's learning and lifelong success. I'm very fortunate today to have three outstanding professional educators here representing District 1. They have diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences, but one thing they have in common is the key to academic success at their particular schools. I would like at this time to introduce our three principals. We have Ms. Tiffany James from Skyway Elementary School, Dr. Frederica Wilson, Skyway Elementary School, Mr. Mark Schwam from Lake Stevens Elementary School, and the Dr. Cynthia Clay from Robert B. Ingram Elementary School. And she is our finalist for District 1 Region, North Region's Principal of the Year. So again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to speak with us and to speak with our viewers about your experiences at the elementary school level. Why were these three principals asked to be on this show? They have demonstrated a success at the elementary school level. Their schools are performing, their parents are engaged, and most importantly, their students are having an opportunity to have a solid foundation academically. And we know from research, and we also know from practice, that the elementary school level is critically important to what happens at the middle school level and what happens at the high school level. So if we don't get it right at the elementary school level, our children are going to have increased challenges moving forward. And yes, these three principals are getting it right for their community, for their schools, but most importantly for their students. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to jump right in. I know who you are. I've had an opportunity to see your track record of success, but can you tell our viewers, we'll start with you, Ms. Tiffany, who is Tiffany James? I was excited to welcome you to District 1 when you were promoted to the position of principal, and the remarkable turnaround that you've done at Dr. Frederica S. Wilson Skyway Elementary School is unparalleled, and it is something that continues to demonstrate what is possible in elementary schools with tremendous challenges, with a great degree of focus. And we're going to get into the strategies and what you've done to turn that school around, but tell the viewers who are you, your background, your professional experiences, etc.
Well, again, my name is Tiffany James. I am a mother of three, and my children went through Miami-Dade County Public Schools. My two children are at FAMU in pharmacy and nursing. I have one that's in first grade that's actually at my school. I started with Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a substitute teacher, instructional coach. I work for ETO as an instructional supervisor, assistant principal, and principal. My love is building the bench for teachers and district staff to make sure they're equipped with the curriculum side of things. And so that is definitely my strength as well as my passion. As I continue to matriculate through the system, I don't know what God wants me to be, but I just want to serve. So I'm just excited, and I just have a big love for curriculum and development.
I think your introduction as it relates to how you entered into the educational profession is critically important. It somewhat parallels mine. You were a substitute teacher, and for those of you who are at different iterations of your professional experience here in the district, Ms. James started out as a substitute teacher, so she is an example of it's not where you start, it's how you finish, and I want to say, Ms. James, you're just getting started. Mark, tell the viewers who you are, your background, your professional experiences. You're no neophyte to this work.
No, I'm not. I am also a father of three. I have two in college, one in middle school. Originally, I graduated Florida State with a criminology degree, and I had I just had made a decision that wasn't the course I wanted to go in when I graduated, and I went to Nova Southeastern. I got my master's in elementary education and ed leadership. I started off my career at Natural Bridge Elementary as a teacher. I taught third grade, fifth grade, second grade. So I knew the curriculum back then, and I had aspirations to be a leader. I became an instructional coach in mathematics, And from there, I got the eye, from my principal and said, you need to do better things and move on. So I was able to secure an assistant principal position at Lake Stevens Elementary 11 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to stay on as principal at Lake Stevens Elementary when the previous principal retired. So I was fortunate enough to be at Lake Stevens and continue on the merits that we are progressing right now. My focus is definitely on curriculum, student achievement, working, like you said, restoring academics and getting our kids back to the level where they need to be. And we've had a great track record of that throughout the years. And we've done a lot of things at the school that, I'm very fortunate and happy about to make sure that student achievement is at the forefront of learning, and we're moving forward in that direction every single year.
Great. So you've been at Lake Stevens for how long?
11 years.
11 years total.
Total.
Okay.
Seven as assistant principal, and this is my 4th year as a principal.
And how long you been in the system?
26 years.
26 years. Ms. James, how long you been in the system?
I've been in the system for 16 years.
16 years. Okay, great. Now let's move to our Principal of the Year finalist, Dr. Cynthia Clay.
Good morning, Dr. Gallen. It's such a pleasure to be here this morning. I have had a tremendous tenure in the Dade-County public school system. This is my 31st year. I am a product of the Miami-Dade County public school system, as well as my son, a graduate of Bethune-Cookman University in psychology, as well as my 10 siblings. We are all products of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. My tenure, I have been a teacher, an elementary teacher at Fulford Elementary. That's where I started my career. I then moved on to a reading coach at Scott Lake Elementary, and now at Dr. Robert B. Ingram Elementary. This is my 14th year. I served as the assistant principal for 4 years, and this is my 10th year as the principal. And it has been a tremendous experience. One of my priorities is building staff capacity as well as community engagement, making everyone feel a part of our school. And that's what we've been able to do over the years. I have a tremendous staff that's always willing to go the extra mile for our students. Our students are learning a great deal. We're exposing them to a great deal. And we've seen success due to the dedication and hard work of our students, staff, parents, and community partners working together. That has been the recipe for success at Dr. Robert B. Ingram Elementary. And I am just so proud to, because we are at a B status now, the first B in the history of the school. And it's been because of all of the stakeholders taking part in that. And we look forward to continued success.
Well, thank you. Definitely, the stakeholder participation has been critically important to the success of the school, but there is no substitute for outstanding leadership. You provided tremendous leadership for an extended period of time, right in the heart of Opelika. For those of you who are uninformed, the school used to be called Opelika Elementary School. It's named Dr. Robert B. Ingram after our phenomenal, the late, great Dr. Robert B. Ingram, a former school board member, former mayor of Opelika, former police chief. He has been a legend in this community as it relates to providing leadership and service and a focus on education. So I'm just so honored that you all are honoring his legacy in terms of providing those students in Opelika, in the Opelika community, a very challenged community, a very underserved community, but I think the tremendous educational service that you're providing through your leadership is something that we all are to be proud of. So we have a combined 31 years, 26 years, and 16 years. So again, we have a diverse representation of school leadership and service, and I'm so pleased to hear that each and every one of you are first and foremost parents, proud parents of your children. And I think, Ms. James, you and I share an experience of having our own children in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools at this particular time. And my children, my adult children, actually went through the Miami-Dade County Public Schools and graduated as well. So tremendously proud to have you, tremendously pleased to have you. And I mentioned that the elementary school experience for me was a moment of nostalgia, and I'm sure that times have changed. When I became a principal, very young principal, many know the youngest principal, I was 26 years old at Holmes Elementary School. We didn't have letter grades at the time. We had what were called critically low schools, and I walked into a school, 1,180 elementary school students from Florida First Start to 6th grade. and that school was listed on the critically low status for all three categories. At that time, it was reading, it was math, and it was writing. And we were able to transition that school into improved status, and eventually I transitioned to Northwestern. But the elementary school experience was something that was very unique because you have to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, okay? And you can't be a master of it all because you have to rely on your faculty, your staff, your stakeholders to put their shoulder to the wheel of work to move that school forward. Speaking of letter grades, I know Dr. Robert B. Ingram is a letter grade of B. Lake Stevens is?
We've been in A for 3 years.
An A for 3 years, and your current grade is?
We are in A.
They are an A school, and I remember when I got elected, that was one of the schools that was deemed very, very fragile, very, very underperforming, and you've elevated that school from its status at the time was an F school, now it's an A school, and it's an outstanding testament to your leadership and a testament to what we can do collectively as educators. Talk to me about that experience that you had transitioning into Skyway Elementary School, and then I'm going to hear from the others relative to their ability to move the school over time, because your turnaround appeared to be very rapid.
I was appointed November 19, 2019. It was right before COVID, a couple of months before COVID. During that time, I'm very, very big on culture first, because I believe when the people are happy, the students are happy, they want to come to school and they're going to give their best. So that's first and foremost for me. I did a lot of research trying to figure out what went wrong and how could we turn this school around, and talk to a lot of the stakeholders within the school. So when the kids left because of COVID and we got the green light to bring some of the kids back that were not doing well, I returned 78% of my kids back to the schoolhouse. And because I felt like it was important to get that jump start if we wanted to move the needle upward. So 78% of the students came back. My teachers were in the building, some were at home, but we took advantage of that time to really, really, really do some deep teaching with our kids. After going through that year and our kids coming back, curriculum development was at the forefront of my vision to make sure that we elevate in the right way. I believe as a principal, when you get down and dirty and your DNA is on curriculum and what everything they do, they believe in it. No one is telling them to do it. They're sold by the leadership and the visionary of the leadership team. And like Dr. Clay mentioned, the staff is a phenomenal staff. They care about kids first, and they want the best for that community. And if you look at most of the teachers that's been there, they've been there for years. So they want the best for those kids. And what we did with those kids were remarkable. Not just professional development, but just really understanding what went wrong. If it's absenteeism, we service other kids in his house that come in and out of our school, and we really started going over there. We went to his house to see how we can bring those kids up. How can we make a difference in their lives? So we tried to make sure we really target the whole child. And with doing that, we saw a major difference within the 3 years that I was principal there. This is now my 4th year. But everybody's in it. Everybody's in it, and they're willing to do the work.
For our viewers, you heard Ms. James refer to his house. We're not going to operate under any assumptions. His house is a residential program where children, based on personal, family related trauma, actually reside in a residential facility, but they still attend our public schools. So we have to be very mindful of, number one, identifying those students, engaging them in a very intentional, very singular way, and really reaching out to them and making sure that we provide additional support and interventions to them. And you all going over to that particular site, establishing that partnership, I thought was critically important. There was something you said that I think is important to note. You had 78% of your students to come back for in-person learning. For those who have felt that despite the politicization of what transpired during COVID, pure educators outside of politics, we fundamentally believe that in-person learning is the best mode for teaching our children. As a school board member, as a former practitioner, I was always an advocate of in-person learning. We understood the fragility relative to health concerns, but I think what you've described in terms of having students in person in school in a very safe, environment, taking all of the necessary medical precautions
Absolutely.
so that we don't perpetuate the spread of any COVID-related issues at the time. Your students tremendously benefited from that, so I want to applaud you of that. So you had a turnaround. Talk to me about Lake Stevens. You're in A school for consecutive years. Talk to me about how you all were able to achieve that, and I do appreciate you acknowledging the tremendous work of your predecessor, Ms. Vanity Daniels.
Yes.
Shout out to Ms. Vanity Daniels.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Ms. Vanity.
Big shout out to Ms. Daniels. Quick story about Ms. Daniels. I'm a 24-year-old assistant principal assigned to Arcola Lake Elementary School. Vanity Daniels was a teacher under me. Outstanding teacher, outstanding educator, and obviously based on her track record and the legacy that she left you at Lake Stevens, she was an outstanding principal. So talk to us about Lake Stevens Elementary School.
When, it's funny, when Ms. Daniels was first sent to Lake Stevens Elementary, that was my first year as an assistant principal. So when I walked into the building and I met Ms. Vanity Daniels, it was an experience.
Yes, yes. I'm sure it was.
It was. And she said to me, she said, they sent me a first year AP. And I said, yes, ma'am, but I'm willing to do the work and I'll make you proud. And we hit it off. We worked very well together. And the knowledge that she had and imparted onto me to help me in my professional career and grow, I could never repay her for what she has taught me, the lessons and the culture and how to actually professionally develop teachers, recruit them, retain them, and keep them happy to move the building. So when we came in, we were a C or a D school, so we had to make changes.
Absolutely.
And one of the first changes we had to do was make sure that we recruited the right teachers to be on the bus, but not only on the bus in the school, but in the right seat of the bus. Because just because you have the right people, if they're not in the right place, sometimes you don't move. So we had to make some challenging decisions and move forward to make sure that student achievement is always going to be the priority. And the staff, instead of leading the staff as a dictator and telling them what to do, we brought everybody to the table. And that's something I brought in 4 years ago. I'm not here just to tell you what to do. I want to work as a team. I want to develop my coaches. I want to be part of the collaborative planning sessions, deep dig into the data, and understand each child and where they need to be fixed. Because every child learns different. When you go in for a medical appointment, if you have a problem with your heart, you're not going to get the same medicine I'm going to get. So every child needs an individualized plan to see what's going on. So through that, through intervention, through deep data chats and planning with the leadership team, we were able to develop plans that effectively move students throughout the grades. And like Ms. James said, COVID hit us hard. That was a huge issue. With the online learning. It may have worked a little bit in middle school, high school, but when you're talking to elementary school students as early as kindergarten and first grade on a computer, the learning is not the same as in-person learning. They have to be in front of the teacher with their books and hear what's going on. So we were able to transition them back in after COVID, and they did have some learning loss, but that was something that we excelled on. We made sure that the learning loss was targeted and they moved forward. Last year, we had 85% learning gains in mathematics.
Wow.
We had 70% learning gains in reading. So we knew what we were doing. It was just getting the kids back and getting them into their dose of instruction that they needed.
Yeah, and I want to say it's not. I don't want it to be understated that the leadership foundation that was set is critically important, but your ability to transition and continue that momentum is something that you're to be applauded for and to be given credit for, because many people don't have the spirit of confidence and humility to balance out both. You have to be confident as the leader, as the principal in your own right, but also have a degree of humility to understand and embrace and retain those practices that worked. And you also have an additional challenge that many people have struggled with, and that's going from an assistant principal to the role of a principal in the same building. Yes. That is something that about 25 plus years ago, there was always an unspoken rule against that, because it was something that kind of created some additional challenges for the individual, but it does take a unique individual to overcome that, and obviously you have 4+ years later, and you're to be credited for that.
Thank you,
Dr. Clay, you're now a B school.
Yes.
You're at the apex of educational success obviously in the city of Opelika and surrounding areas. That school has become a beacon of pride, a beacon of hope from many stakeholders. I turn around, I look in social media, I look in the media. A lot of things are happening, and a lot of people have a vested interest in that school. When you start talking about community ownership, parental ownership, school culture, it's important from the internal standpoint, but the external stakeholders that I hear from in a very positive way that want to support the school, and the way that you've been able to galvanize that support over the course of 14 years now is again a testament to your leadership and you having been the assistant principal as well. In that school to be able to transition into that role as Mr. Schwartz has as well. Talk to us about that.
When I started my first year as principal, my goal was to build the culture. Having everyone with the belief that we can succeed, believing that everyone is a part and play an important part. So that meant building the students, building the staff, building our parents, as well as the community stakeholders. So that was one of the things I really focused on the first year. And now looking down now to 14 years after, everyone feels a part of the puzzle. Everyone knows their importance, and without one, we would not be able to be successful. And that's what we're seeing now. Our community partners, I cannot speak enough about them. And I thank you for our faith-based community partners, beginning with their prayers for us. Anytime we need them, incentives for our students, for our staff, they are there for us. Just the Opelika Police Department, the City Commission, the Opelika Library. We have the businesses in Opelika, just a slew of stakeholders, the Coast Guards, Amazon, and they have really been a game changer. Seeing the support in the students, they come in to mentor, just to support us in every way, that has been something great for us. Also, Mr. David Williams, with our new science initiative at our school, we have a world-renowned science lab at the school now, a botanical garden, as well as a butterfly garden, where we've had people to come in to take tours. Our students are learning on another level. They're learning about, I can be a scientist now. There are so many different careers I can explore in the science career field that I can be it now. My students can tell you about different animals, different plants, how they help us as people, where they originated from. So we're through our science program, we're taking our students' critical thinking to another level. And again, I can't speak enough about my staff. My staff is, I'm always telling them, I know I'm blessed to have a staff. They are always willing to go beyond. If I needed my staff on a Sunday, they're there. For Saturday, they're there to 6 o'clock each day with our children for the after school program. So everyone just working together. It has been a tremendous difference at our school. And we, as I said earlier, we continue to expect to see great things happening. And Dr. Gallo, we thank you for your support. The Student of the Month, the parents are so proud when their children are selected, because we let them know it's your child has been selected from every child in the school. And they take pride in that, and it's such a pleasure going every month to have our students awarded for that. So it's all of those things, helping our students to be recognized in positive ways, and letting them know that they can do and be anything they want to in life. Each day they start with the school affirmation, and they're telling themselves about how they believe in themselves, the staff believe in them, they can be successful, they are opulent, they can have anything that they want in life, and they are college bound if that's what they choose to do. They may not realize the impact now, but as they speak those words into their lives on a daily basis and it comes to pass, it's going to all come back to their elementary school years. And as you mentioned earlier, and I often tell my staff, not slighting middle and high school, but we have a great charge at the elementary level.
Yes.
If we set the foundation right at the elementary level, there's chances of success in being successful at middle school and high school level and beyond is at a greater capacity.
Yeah, and there's so much research relative to the gaps and the opportunities at the elementary school level. Naturally, by third grade, if the gaps are pronounced, that's going to expand or impede even more a student's opportunity for success. If there are limited gaps and there are enhanced opportunities, that's going to increase their opportunities for success moving forward. So again, you've done a tremendous job in terms of your partnerships. Shout out to former Miami Gardens Councilman David Williams. I know you have the City of Opelika, you have the Opelika Community Development Corporation, I know has done some work in that area as well.
Yes.
Each of you has talked about culture and school culture. And one of the things I want to hone in on something you said, Ms. James, you mentioned that your staff is pretty much the staff that has been in place. And very often people have this perception that you have to have a major overhaul. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. I come from the era in which reconstitution of schools was practiced, specifically at the high school level. We had what was called Project 4 High, which were the 4 F high schools in the county, Northwestern, Jackson, Booker T, and Edison. And those schools had an opportunity for reconstitution. That means you had an opportunity to make dramatic changes in staff. I heard you, Mark, talk about there were some people that needed to be rearranged on the bus, and some people need to get off of that bus and go to another bus. But I also heard you, Ms. James, talk about the fact that you made some major changes with existing staff. And again, from a leadership standpoint, I think that's critically important because very often people think that you're able to turn around an organization or a school because you're able to bring in new players. But you maintained the same players, but the school just had a different coach. Talk to us about what that experience was like coming in, building on the existing capacity in that school, and what was your theory of action to decide to do that, which I think is very fair, giving everybody an opportunity. But talk to us about that.
I often say building the bench because I developed a very, very small formula called building the bench, and I took the time to really understand each person's strengths and weaknesses. I think because they were there so long, they kind of got a little complacent and comfortable. And times are changing. We have new students coming in the building, so we have to adapt to them. We talk about student-centered. We had to make sure that we are adapting to that. So I really took the time out to just really understand and coach my teachers. And if they were in math and the data and quantitative and qualitative data did not speak to student improvement, you probably would do better here. I looked at personalities, different aspects to say, I want you to shine, because everywhere I go, I want to shine. When they say Tiffany James, I want it to be, hey, and I want you to feel the same way. So if you're shining here, that means every time you come in, great things are happening. I don't want to dull your light. And they really understood where I was coming from. It wasn't punitive. It wasn't because I didn't like you. It's because I want the best for you as well as these children. And I often tell everybody, my son attends that school. So when I look at all of my children, I look at him as well, and I want the best for him, and I want the best for all of them. So they really embraced it, and we just started seeing the change, and they was excited about the change. I just pushed them to more leadership roles, and no, don't be comfortable. Come on, let's get up and do it together. And they started developing things, and Skyway just really started moving.
Yeah. Dr. Clay talked about the importance of having students to be affirmed on a daily basis. What you've described is actually the value, the importance, and the impact of having faculty and staff, and specifically adults, affirmed. Though the need for that level of affirmation is critically important, especially when a school has sadly only tasted the sour pill of failure. because I often said during those challenging times of my principalship that a letter grade of an F or a D is not something that is only on the school, it's on the community, it's on the faculty, it's on the staff, it's on the students, it's on the parents. And we're more than a letter grade. I think I actually did an op-ed about 20 years ago saying we are more than a letter grade, because when you look at the pockets of excellence during that particular time, it could never be restricted to one moment in time to see what a student group performed that really speaks to the entire school. So you were able to affirm the existing faculty and staff. And there's something else you said, that you took the time. You took the time. And in this ever-changing educational landscape, of which people are going to get shocked, but this is real talk, I embrace some of the new tenets of the state to kind of move a little slower in terms of progress monitoring, moving from, hopefully, the draconian efforts to grade a school in a very rapid, episodic way, as opposed to looking at how children are performing over time through progress monitoring. We'll see what that looks like from a letter grading standpoint, but I do see some level of pause as opposed to the rapid, accelerated microwave approach to turning around a school without really diving deep into whether or not students are learning and performing. I want to tap into something that each of you, I've learned, has in common. You all, at some levels of your career, served as curriculum coaches. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, that's unique. That wasn't scripted. You all, at some point in time, served as curriculum coaches. I think that's critically important because, number one, it provides an opportunity for you to understand capacity building. Curriculum coaches, for the viewers, are professionals in schools that coach teachers that work with students, whether it's intervention, but they're involved primarily in curricular-related issues, data analysis, professional development, in-class support, interventions. They really deal with the mechanics of what happens in a school in a supportive role. How has that role helped you transition into your role as an educational leader? Start with you, Mark. Yes.
It's funny because, I heard back in the day, principals were really more operations managers. You didn't really need to be so in tune with the curriculum. Just make sure the school is running.
You're dating yourself, man. Go ahead. You're dating yourself. When you say you heard, that's what we heard 25 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. Operations managers, not instructional leaders, but continue.
But to be an effective leader, you need to know curriculum. You need to know how to lead professional development, how to mentor young teachers, even veteran teachers, on what practices are good practices, what practices might need some tweaking, what needs to be changed. So as a principal, knowing the curriculum, knowing the standards, and knowing that you've been there before, you've also had the experience to coach colleagues in performing what needs to be done in the classroom. We've been able to, as leaders, oversee and grow our teachers to make sure that they have a sounding board to make sure that the teaching that they're doing, the instruction is purposeful, is on point, and deliverable to make sure that we make a difference in the students' lives. So, absolutely, curriculum has to be.
I'm going to throw this out to each of you. You could jump in. But isn't that something that you could abdicate to other staff members at the elementary school level? And I'm saying that with some degree of sarcasm, because I was an elementary school principal. I was a high school principal with a tremendous amount of support and staff, but the elementary school principal, in some cases, has to be all things to all people. Is that much more pronounced at the elementary school level, to have a hands-on approach to coaching, to data analysis, to testing coordination, to staff training, to discipline, to purchasing, to finance? Because last I recall, you don't have the voluminous amount of resources that are at the middle or the high school level, definitely, because you're a small operation, but you have to have your hands on everything without missing the mark on the main thing, keeping the main thing the main thing. What is that like at the elementary school level as a principal? Anybody?
It is important for us to know that curriculum area, but I must say, not only myself as the principal, but having an excellent assistant principal, Mrs. Negron, also the support of the ETO staff, the CSSs that come into our buildings each week to work with our coaches, our teachers, everyone working together. But as a coach, I've learned the importance of building relationships first and foremost, and being able to put myself in my teacher's place, and they see us working together. We're breaking down the data. I'm knowing the benchmarks, the standards. It helps to build better relationships when you can truly understand what's going on.
But you as the principal know and understand that personally. You individually know and understand that.
Yes.
As the principal.
Yes.
Okay, you're not abdicating that to anybody else.
No.
They can work on it, they can support it, they can collaborate, but you know it.
But I know it.
That's
Yes.
Yes.
Hands on. Each week I'm in collaborative planning. I'm working out data. We're looking at data. We are large on data. My students know their data. The parents know the data. The staff knows the data. So I really enjoy that part of working with my teachers and working out the data, knowing the data. That's how I'm able to communicate with my students. You did well this week, or you didn't do well. What happened? And they come back and let me know when they do well again. So when they see the principal knows my data, when they see, and I'm able to communicate that to my parents, that I know the data, that says a lot. That speaks volumes to the teachers, to students, as well as all the stakeholders.
Are you hearing this, middle and high school principals? Are you hearing this, middle and high school principals? There should never be a situation where you abdicate your role, your responsibility, your engagement, your knowledge of what's happening in the school. And I have so many anecdotes, but I must share one that occurred when we had to give a report. I was a high school principal. I had one of the best curriculum support vice principals. Shout out to Patricia Arnett. Real people, real names. This is real talk, real stories. And we were preparing to present our response and our strategy to improve student performance, and looking at it based on data. And this was prior to all of the technological advances we have right now. We didn't have iReady. We didn't have all of those things. So you had Dr. Handelsman, shout out to Dr. Handelsman, a math teacher that would collect the Scantrons, do an analysis of how students performed in certain areas. But that being said, we were preparing for the presentation, and everyone anticipated that Ms. Arnett would be the one to speak on it. I spoke on every element of the data for the high school, and after I finished, I said, Ms. Arnett, did I leave out anything? She said, no, Dr. Gallen, you covered everything. And it was something that really spoke to what you talked about, Mark, is that there was this predisposition and this anticipated perception that our role and our responsibility was relegated to discipline, operations, the mechanics of the school, but not the mechanics of education, the core technology of what takes place. I credit that with my elementary school experience. Having to do all of those things. I had to do discipline, I had to do testing, I had to do curriculum, I had to do professional development. And I think that really provides a greater opportunity for that hands-on experience. And I think you three bringing that coaching experience to bear plays a major role. Talk to me about school culture relative to making school fun. What are you doing in terms of making your students enjoy school while learning at the same time? Because I know we've gone through, and some people will still feel that we're still in that place of testing and over testing, but school is not really an enjoyable place to be. What are you doing to balance out your commitment to academic achievement, but making a commitment to ensuring that school is enjoyable and that you're addressing the needs of the entire child? Anybody? Yes, Ms. James.
I can start because I am a kid at heart still. But I wanted my elementary experience to be what I experienced as a child. And I know we were ETO schools or still in ETO schools, and sometimes they became very rigid.
Yes.
You know, math, science, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, they're a kid still. You know, how do I still do that and make sure they still feel like a kid? So outside of what we do with the after-school programs, I'm with the Boys and Girls Club now in the Children's Trust. But if you look at our calendar, it is very full of activities. We make sure we incorporate activities throughout the day. We make sure instruction is fully engaged. We just had a spirit. We had Wakanda Day yesterday, closing out Black History Month, where our boys and girls get to dress up, have fun, put on their costumes, relate to their colleagues, just get a chance to just be kids at times. We incentivize them for their academic achievements as well as just their character, because we do realize that sometimes some kids are not going to meet that threshold that we're looking for. So we want to praise them, similar to what you do, Dr. Gallen, for your Student of the Month. We want to praise them in all aspects. I have a lot of partners, and we give it to the partners are delegated to a grade level, so that way they can really hone on the needs that the teacher say, hey, I'm having a 5th grade prom and I want to do this, so the partners can really get involved with what they want to do and collaborate, just not with me but the teachers, and the kids can do what they want to do. And our kids speak and they say, Miss James, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, okay, let me write it down, and I make sure they have it. So you perform for me, I'm going to perform for you.
I mean, that's a curriculum person at heart. I'm sorry. What you have now described is differentiated partnership. Okay, tiered partnership. I'm going to target your partnership, your service, your time, your talent, and your treasure, not to the whole school, but to a grade level. That obviously deals with specific needs, specific interests, but also it helps to cultivate specific relationships.
Yes.
Mark, you want to talk about some of the things you do that's fun?
We celebrate everything.
Okay.
We celebrate successes. We celebrate student achievement. We celebrate, like Ms. James said, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. We have luncheons. We have fashion shows. The kids dress up. They do. This week is, celebrate Dr. Seuss Week. So every day this week, they get to get that out-of-body experience, dress like Dr. Seuss.
You dress like Dr. Seuss too?
I haven't been in the building this week, but I plan on Friday.
Okay, I failed that test now.
And we also have partnerships. We have our big partnership is with the Education Fund.
Great.
And with their partnership, we are able to move from the STEM program to the STEAM program. And we celebrate that. We have robotics, and we have clubs and organizations where the students attach themselves to, so they see that school isn't just school in the classroom. There's also things to participate in with student achievement, but fun things that they could tag themselves to make sure that they're learning and having fun at the same time. So we're constantly moving along.
Dr. Clay, just briefly, I know it's always fun at Dr. Robert B. Ingram. I've gone over there, I've jumped in a bag, I've done a whole lot of things.
Race.
Yeah, sack race, I lost. Did I lose or win?
No, you won.
I won. I won the sack race
and beat the children.
Beat the children in my suit,
all of us,
my shoes and everything else. Just talk to us about some of the things you've done and continue to do, and why is that important to your school and your students?
Oh, very, very important to keep everyone motivated, as Ms. James said, to make learning fun. Remember, they're still children, and the staff enjoy it as well, to just have that day to just bond with the students as well as the families. We do not things only during the day. We do family engagement activities each night, each month, once a month for the families to come and bond. Nothing with academics, just coming and enjoying each other. We have our iReady celebration coming up soon. One of our wonderful partners is sponsoring it. The Lending a Helping Hand. We'll do the bounce houses, and just a fun day for our children. So our children are looking forward to that, and as Ms. James also said, some children are not going to always make the higher mark, but we are awarding them on just their effort. If they went up just a certain amount of points, that showed their effort, they really tried. So we believe in incorporating everyone to make everyone feel important. Just ice cream parties, slushies parties. We believe in eating well.
This is so critically important, and I say this with a degree of humor, but a degree of seriousness. We have to have balance in our lives, but we also have to have balance in our schools with our children. I think there are conversations around the state nation around extremes that really get into the political discourse about extremism, but there could be extremism in education. And I don't mean political or educational extremism. What I mean is you're having too much fun and you're not doing the work, or you're doing the work and you're not having any fun. Absolutely. And I think the mark of a good school, the mark of a good leader, the mark of a good school culture is to have that balance. It's not an either or, it's a both and. That's something I've said for decades. Either you succeed academically and don't have fun, or either you have fun and you don't succeed academically. And I see some people struggle with that. And I've had to debate that issue regarding some schools in my district, that people feel like the school is an exciting place, it's an enjoyable place, it's a marketable place, but I want to look at the data. I want to see how the school is performing academically. Or the school is performing academically, but Dr. Gallen, the school has no field trips, the school has no activities, the school has no fun. Ironically, I'm sitting here with 3 principals who have found the formula to have that balance that we need in our schools, in our classrooms, but most importantly with our children. So when we start to speak to parents, it's not just enough to say our school is an A school or a B school. And I'm sitting with schools that are 2 A schools and 1 B school. High academic performance, great enjoyable environments. In about 30 to 45 seconds, what would you say to parents as it relates to why should they send their child to your school? We are in the era of choice. We have legislation that appears to be expanding school choice through expanded voucher programs. So it's going to be a very competitive market. Our competition is no longer just charter schools. Our competition is no longer just our colleagues around the corner. Our competition is being amped up. So we have to be able to very quickly, very directly articulate to a parent, why should they bring their child or their children to our school? Ms. James, why? 30, 45 seconds.
Because at Dr. Frederica S. Wilson Skyway Elementary, we're here to serve your child, the entire child. We will make sure they have rigorous instruction as well as feel safe. They will have the best balanced elementary experience they can have at any school, but at Skyway, they're going to have it. They're going to have fun. They're going to come home with a smile, and they're going to learn. And that is the most important thing I think a child should leave with in elementary.
Okay. Schwartz.
Lake Stevens Elementary, we personally care about every student. We have personal relations with all parents, all stakeholders, all children. Our teachers are top-notch. They work very hard from morning to night, making sure that their instruction is on point, that we're helping the students. We have programs in our school from STEAM to robotics, science related to science lab. We do everything for the child as a whole. We have fun, but student achievement is the reason to come to Lake Stevens Elementary, because we hit the mark every single year.
Dr. Clay.
Okay, I want to start off with something I tell all of my parents as I greet them, as I get new students in, and my colleagues. I always tell them, welcome to the best school in Miami-Dade County. And we care, that's first and foremost. We love our children, and we're going to expose them not only for things for life today, but for their future in order for them to have the best educational experience.
There you have it. You have rigorous curriculum, outstanding instruction, safe learning environment, relationships, and something I think you all have embraced, a balanced educational experience. And I think that's what we have to be able to do as educational leaders in the new competitive educational space that we see right now in the state of Florida, and quite frankly throughout the national landscape. And again, speaking to our parents, making sure that they understand that this is a collaborative effort, that we cannot do this alone, and each of you has indicated that parents have played a significant role in your success, past and present, and will so in the future. And again, a testament to your faculty and your staffs, because we know that our teachers, our cafeteria workers, our clerical staff, our security monitors, our custodians who keep our schools clean and safe and orderly, put their shoulder to the wheel on behalf of our children each and every day. Our bus drivers who bring them to school. And again, it's a collaborative effort, and I want to thank you for sharing your experiences and giving me just a moment of nostalgia from 27 years ago as a very young elementary school principal at Holmes Elementary School. Those were some great years, 3 years briefly, and then on to Northwestern for 7 years. But it was a great opportunity, a great time, and I saw the tremendous benefit, and I still see the benefit of planting those seeds early on in the learning in the future lives of children. As we prepare to close on Real Talk with Dr. Steve Gallen III, we always end with a shout out. So you have an opportunity. I request that you give a shout out to somebody that you would like to express some sentiments to on this day during this segment. So Mark, we'll start with you. Who you want to give a shout out to?
I have a couple of shout outs.
Give it. Go
First
for
one,
it.
my former boss, Vanity Daniels, for imparting the wisdom and knowledge and training that I have for moving forward in my career. And a big shout out to all the faculty at my school for doing what we do every day and doing great things.
Ms. James?
I'm going to do a throwback.
Go ahead.
I'm going to shout out to Arcola Lake, where I was appointed assistant principal first at Arcola Lake, then Holmes Elementary, and now Frederica Wilson. So shout out to everybody that I encountered during my school site administration that helped me be who I can be for children. So shout out to you all.
Dr. Clay?
Now, I would like to also shout out to the people that helped me to get where I am today, gave me great experiences, starting with the great George Brown, rest in peace.
Yes.
Gertrude Pope, Miss Valerie Ward, Dr. Alice Collins, and Dr. Susan McKitchen. They were just excellent in giving me experiences to prepare me for where I am today. And definitely, I would like to wish a very happy birthday to my assistant principal, Mrs. DeGran, today, and to my wonderful staff at Dr. Robert B. Ingram, all the staff and stakeholders. It's such a blessing to work with you each and every day.
And thank you so much. And I would like to give a shout out to each of you in your respective places. Despite some of the perceptions about what it is to be an educational leader, I still represent that the elementary school is still one of the most challenging but yet rewarding educational leadership posts that we have in our public school system. But it also provides an opportunity for me to affirm something that I've said, something that I fundamentally believe, and that despite the cacophony, despite the rancor of the day that we see in the political landscape that has sadly permeated education, you have demonstrated and you have reminded me and reminded all of us that the winds of possibility, they still blow. The winds of possibility, the winds of hope, the winds of opportunity, the winds of success, they still blow in the learning and lives of our children, and they're blowing loudly. Yes. They're blowing loudly, they're blowing powerfully at Dr. Frederica S. Wilson Skyway Elementary School. They're blowing at Lake Stevens Elementary School, and I hear them blowing at Dr. Robert B. Ingram Elementary School. So let that success, let that learning, and let that love continue to blow in the learning and lives of our children, and they blow because of you. So thank you so much for your time. I wish you continued success, and let's work. Thank you.
Let's work.
I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rap. Got a bag from the way that I write it. Queen looking Tyson, through that I survived, doing 80 to the house. Then I hit it to the sky, changed haters on a tirade. Talking to their grip in the face, be still, let that hate stuff fade. We all want the same, we all want a meal in the safe. I wanna live like I'm trying to reach enlightenment. Trail spill from my lips.